Hello everyone, welcome to video 1 of my new sequences and series. So in each of these videos I will be working through one example. Hopefully by the end of the series you will be able to ace the sequences and series section of your final matric exam. Okay, so let's jump straight in. For example 1, they are saying consider the quadratic number pattern. That is important, and they have given us the number pattern. So what I always do is I just rewrite the number pattern because I like actually calculating my differences from having rewritten this pattern. Okay, so if we look at our first difference between terms 1 and 2, we are adding 8 because 3 plus 8 will get you 11. From 11 to 21, we are adding 10, and then from 21 to 33, we are adding 12. Now from here we can see that we do not have a constant first difference, so that means that this is not a linear number pattern. Now they did tell us that it's quadratic, of course, but you do still need to be able to answer this question even if they don't tell you. So we can see that we do in fact have a constant second difference, so a constant difference of 2 between our first differences. Now for A, they are wanting us to write a formula for the general term Tn. Remember, for a quadratic number pattern, Tn is an squared plus bn plus c. So from here, you need to know a few formulas. The first of these formulas is that 2a is equal to the second difference, the constant second difference. Remember, that is what makes it a quadratic number pattern. So for this number pattern, our constant second difference is 2, so we're going to say that a is equal to 1. Now from here, we are going to use our second formula, which is that 3a plus b is equal to our first difference. So I'm highlighting or I'm circling it here. So that number, which is 8, now we are able to calculate this value because we know that a is 1. So from here we can see that b is going to be 8 minus 3, which is 5. Then finally, our last formula is that a plus b plus c is equal to term 1 of the actual quadratic number pattern. So we are using that value. Again, we can calculate the value of c in this case because we have already calculated a and b, and we can sub those values in. So if I put those values into that equation, I'm going to get that c is equal to -3. Now in a test or exam, you will get 1 mark for each of these values, and then the 4th mark is going to be for actually writing the formula down. So in this case, it's 1n squared. I'm just going to write n squared plus 5n minus 3. That will be your 4th mark for this question. Alright, so A is done. In B, they are now asking us to calculate the value of T12. Now we have a formula for Tn, so if I want to know what T12 is, all I have to do is I need to replace n in my formula with 12. I am essentially subbing in 12 because that is what n is. That's what n represents. It's the term number. So when you do that, if you're actually substituting the value in and calculating it, you will get that term 12 is 201. This question will be worth 2 marks, 1 for subbing in and 1 for the answer. Right, we are moving on to the last question, which is question C. And in this question, they are saying which term. Now, when they're asking which term, that means that we need to calculate n, because we don't know, is it term 27, is it term 205, which term is it? So we need to calculate the n value. In this pattern is equal to 497. Now what we are going to do is we are going to make Tn the nth term, again because we don't know which term that is, we are going to make the nth term equal to 497. Now what is the nth term in this case? We have calculated a formula for it, an expression that will give us the nth term. So I'm going to make that formula equal to, what was it now again? 497. Going to make that formula equal to 497, and I'm going to solve for n. So firstly, since this is a quadratic equation, I'm bringing everything over to the left-hand side. I'm making the whole equation equal to 0. Now from here, you have two options. You can either use the quadratic formula, or you can factorize. I am going to factorize, but since we're working with negative 500, which is quite a big number, you are more than welcome to use the quadratic formula. Remember, if you do that in this case, you have to write n equals, not x equals. I'm just quickly writing the quadratic formula for you guys in case you've forgotten it. Remember, you are always allowed to use the quadratic formula to solve for any variable in a quadratic equation if you don't like factorizing. Okay, so for this, the b value, coefficient of our n term, our middle term, is 5. So that is what I am subbing in the place of b. My a value is the coefficient of n squared, and my c value is the constant term of that equation. And that is now all over 2a again. A in this case is 1. When you type it into the calculator using the plus, you will get one answer. When you type it in using the minus, you will get your second answer. Or if you were able to factorize, then you can just make each of your brackets equal to 0 and then solve for n from there. So you would get these same two values if you were working with the quadratic formula on the right as well. Now guys, it's very important to notice that we are getting two answers here, but the second answer, the negative answer, is actually invalid for the context of this question. So if n is negative 25, it satisfies this equation, right? It makes that equation true. But remember, in the context of this question, n is the term number. So that means that n can't be a negative number. So we have to say that for this question, negative 25 is actually invalid. So the answer is 20. So term 20 is equal to 497. In terms of mark allocation for this, you will get 1 mark for making your equation, your formula, equal to the number. You will get a mark for making the equation equal to 0. You will get a mark for factorizing. You will get a mark for having both answers, but then for finally choosing the correct answer. So this question would be worth 5 marks. If instead of factorizing, you decided to use the quadratic formula, it's very important you have to show this circled step, because the mark that I indicated over here will actually be awarded for this step if you decided to use the formula. That was example 1, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this. Please leave a like or a comment and subscribe for more of these videos.